Hi, I'm Mandy, and I am a writer and a career coach, and I talk about how to bring more creativity and joy into your life. In today's video, we're going to be talking about consistency, how to be consistent, and how to actually show up for your art. We're going to be talking about three main ideas. The first is how to actually pick your creative projects. The second is that consistency is actually for you. It is a gift to yourself, not the audience. And three is to treat your art or treat your creativity like brain surgery. I'll explain. So as usual, we're going to take each of the topics piece by piece, and we're going to start with the question of how do you choose your projects? Now, the reason we're starting with this is because as a creative person, you probably are a multi-talented, multi-hyphenate individual. Part of your talent is being good at many things, and part of the way that your brain works is that you can actually see yourself in a lot of different roles. You could be a filmmaker, you could be a writer, you could be a poet. You're exercising a lot of the same artistic skills, and it can be sort of tough to be like, where do I start? Like, what do I choose? What do I pick? It almost feels like by the act of picking something feels a little bit narrow, or sometimes can feel a little bit constricting. I want to liberate you from this kind of feeling and assure you that you can actually, in your lifetime, do them all. Picking one idea does not mean that you are abandoning the others. There are lots of different ways that you can come back to it later in life, or that you could actually blend or weave in multiple disciplines as you grow. Okay, so a very simple exercise is I want you to just imagine that you were taking out each of the possibilities and laying them on a table. And you can do this on a piece of paper. You could take Post-its and write down, let's say, the 5 or 6 immediate creative projects that are sort of calling to you right now. Okay, so imagine that each of these highlighters is like one of your creative ideas. So all we're doing is we're laying them out, right, on the table, and we're saying, okay, green highlighter, I see you. Yellow, I see you. Orange, yep, I got you. Lock eyes, I see you. And now imagine as your ideas are laid out, right? Maybe this is, I want to pursue my painting series. Maybe this is, I want to apply to a writing apprenticeship. Maybe this is, I don't want to do any of it and I want to go to nursing school. Like, it could be various things that are tied together or completely separate. And all I want you to do is just pause on each one and have a little conversation with it. Just ask it, hey, how's it going? Why did you show up today? What would you like to say? Each one of these little creative buds has a message for you. You can actually talk to it and just ask, how urgent are you feeling? What do you see for me? And most importantly, here's the question that you're going to ask. You're going to ask, what do you need from me? How can I support you? You're going to do that for each one of your creative ideas. If you are someone who wants to write things down, you could take notes in a notebook. If you're someone who likes to speak aloud, you could record little voice notes to yourself. The idea is you're almost approaching your creativity like an investigative reporter. You're saying, I'm just curious. What do each of these things have to say? What is the timeliness of these ideas? And most importantly, what do I feel most called to do? It might feel a little weird to be like, why am I having a conversation with Post-its on my desk? But just hear me out. Your ideas are living, breathing things, okay? They want to be seen and heard. And part of our nurturing these ideas is having these little conversations with them and also reassuring them. Saying, for example, hey, I love that idea, and as I'm sort of reflecting, I don't think that I'm going to be picking you up and taking you with me right now. But if you're patient and if you wait, I promise I'll come back for you. Set the idea down. So we do this process and we kind of move with it. We just feel, you're gonna get a zing. You're gonna get a pop. You're gonna get a, oh my God, I love all of you. Or maybe you might be scared of some of them and you might be like, why are you here? Like, you were not invited, right? Whatever reaction you have is perfect. Whatever reaction you have is good. Even if you're like, I don't know, Mandy, I'm having a really hard time. even coming up with an idea, like nothing's coming up, like I've been blocked for a while, okay, that blockage is also a living, breathing thing. So you might write down that blockage on a Post-it and have a kind of meta conversation with the blockage. Hey, blockage, I see you decided to come up today, like many days. No shade, okay, but I'm just curious. I'm here to listen. I'm ready to listen. Sorry for always like shoving you away and trying to make you not exist, but you are welcome here. And what can we do? Like, what do you need from me? How can I support you? What do you want to say? So you'll pick the thing that just feels like it wants to be picked, right? And also knowing that by laying these out and seeing them on the page, suddenly, guess what? You actually have a bit of a roadmap, right? I think as creatives, it's also nice to have maybe a couple projects going on at the same time. So maybe you get really into one project and you feel a little bit like, okay, I need a break. Pick up your other one, you know? And so it's this action. It's back and forth. It's the yin and yang, which is also great. And on this topic, I also want to talk about this idea of what is the kind of artist that you want to be. Now, every type of artist actually has a kind of archetype, right? You can think about the writer with like the felt pen and kind of ink on their fingers and a collection of typewriters and kind of, you know, messy hair in a bun, very Little Woman, right? Jo March, right? Like that's the writerly archetype. Or are you more of a painter where you are just covered in paint and you have an entire studio and you're wearing overalls and things are messy and things are just like spur of the moment? Or are you more of the archetype where you're like a monastic creative and you are there in your minimal surroundings with just your laptop and a screen and you're like, you know, writing the screenplay of your life, or you're like a coder, or you're a graphic designer making sure things are pixel perfect? Every type of artist has a kind of persona. And what I want you to think about is, what are the sort of archetypes that you have historically been drawn to? What are the things that have sort of that soft call that you feel like almost like that's sort of juicy, or there's something sort of alluring or almost sexy about like living that persona? Being an artist is a verb. It is a motion. It is a movement. And so what kind of movement do you identify the most with? That is also a key to your map. Idea 2 is that consistency is actually for you, not the audience. And I say this specifically because as artists, we have a lot going on in our lives. We are highly attuned. We tend to be a little bit more sensitive to even like where the moon is in its cycle, or what's happening with the weather, or geographically where we are, right? So many ups and downs in the creative journey. And as artists, because we are in touch with our own human experience, and we are purposely allowing part of ourselves to crack open in this constant unfolding, and then sort of metabolizing those events and transmuting them through our art. Basically, sometimes we can be a hot mess. Sometimes life can feel like a big ass roller coaster. And it is in these instances that having something to come back to, having a consistent art practice, is gonna save you. My recommendation is to set up a consistent schedule for yourself. If you are a writer, this can look something like, I post every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Pacific on my Substack or on my blog. If you are a painter, this could look like every Sunday night after dinner from 7 to 9, I have my painting hour. If you're a choreographer, this could look like every Wednesday, I'm going to meet up with my other dancer friend and we're going to spend 2 hours in the studio. Rain or shine, whether I feel like it or not, I'm going to commit to this creative practice. And it can be in the form of a weekly, bi-weekly practice where it's not so results oriented, but it's more just like that time is sacred and I've carved out that time for me. Or if you're more of a writer, creator, I think having a consistent posting schedule is very important. Your job is just to show up. Your job is to show up to show the creativity. Hey, I'm going to be here every Sunday night working on my Substack for tomorrow. Whether you decide to show up or not, like that's totally fine, but I'll be here. And if you're here together, I know we're going to create something amazing. And if you're not, if you decide like you've got other stuff going on, then that's fine too. And I'll write and it won't be that good. But again, I didn't promise that it would be that good. I just promised that I was going to show up. The third idea is that I want you to treat your art like brain surgery. Okay, let me explain. And this is going to be a little bit of a story time. Okay, so when I first graduated from college, my first job out of school was at I don't know if you're going to believe this, but it was at a fashion magazine. So my job, I was at the bottom of the totem pole. I was literally an accessories assistant, which meant that I got coffee and I helped gather product and I managed interns. Okay, that was literally my job. Okay, so when I tell you that I walked into the editor-in-chief's office and here's what you see. Okay, everything is organized like we are going into battle. All right, against the walls there are printed out pages with pins of every single page of the upcoming issue. There is a schedule with like every issue that we're going to publish over the next 6 months, the theme, the associated photographers, the creatives, what the intended mood of that specific issue is. All of this has been mapped out in advance. There are entire departments dedicated to photography, editorial, writing, copy editing. There was so much thought and preparation that went into things like, where is this photo shoot going to be? Is it going to be in upstate New York? Is it going to be in LA? Who's the photographer? Who's the photographer's assistant? Who's the stylist? Who's the stylist assistant? Is it in collaboration with a specific brand? What is that brand? What are the accessories that we're going to need? When I say that this was organized like it was brain surgery, like every single utensil, the lights, the organization, the sterilization, like everything was so freaking precise. And here's the thing about that precision or that preparation. What happened was we would prepare like hell for a photo shoot. I mean, I'm talking we would have 50 trunks of accessories and dresses and coats and t-shirts and shoes prepared for a photo shoot. We would have assistants on call. There would be a first assistant, a second. Like this was, I mean, literally it was orchestrated, okay? But then you would get there and it would be sort of free. And what I mean by that is because there had been so much preparation, the operational prep could now support and match the elevated art that was going to be made. When you bring your best and prepare like hell, that's when the great art can happen. I think it's because we took it so seriously that we could also play with it so freely. And I remember thinking back when I was planning, like, okay, but what, how many articles am I going to try to publish every month? Am I even going to have a schedule? Does it make sense to have a schedule? I thought back to those early moments and I thought about how the magazine was never like, are we going to publish this month? What is happening? Should we? Does anybody care? Like, no, the magazine was publishing. It was like a given. It was like, not only are we publishing, we are planning. We are coming up with schedules and dates and operational expertise to support the art that we are going to make. And so even if this is scary to you, and even if you're like, okay, that's great, that's like a full ass magazine, and I'm just like over here trying to write some poetry, like you have to bring your A game. You have to act as if you are a national publication with strict deadlines and advertisers, and you have to act like that and show up like that. And if when you take yourself so seriously, your art is going to be like, oh my gosh, me? Like, okay. You know what I mean? So like, show up, your art's going to show up. So in conclusion, we've talked about 3 main ideas in this video. I hope you had fun. The first was that I want you to talk to your projects and pick them thoughtfully, and also think about what is the sort of artistic persona that you're just personally drawn to and think is cool, and just give yourself permission to do that and become that and be that. 2 is to pick a schedule, be consistent, show up. Even though it feels painful, it actually is this beautiful through line for you. It actually is this thing that when life gets hard or life gets busy, you can actually rely on. And it is a beautiful kind of diary of your own process and your own unfolding, which you will need because there's so many times where you're going to doubt yourself and be like, what am I doing again? How far have I come? And then you can look back and be like, oh, that's how far I've come. It's like this real-time reflection, real-time diary of what you're doing. And third, treat your art like brain surgery, which is basically come with your A game, come with your operational A game, make the time, make the space, treat it like this is science, and that you are, just getting all of your paints ready and getting on schedule and turning the lights on, putting the music on, getting your tea, like get all the things that you need to get ready to get yourself into that mind space to allow the creativity to flow. So I hope you enjoyed this little cozy Sunday video to get you inspired and ready for the week. And as always, I am going to practice what I preach, and I'm going to continue to be consistent and continue to show up and make this content for you. Say it every time. I'm still obsessed with you guys. I think the thing about YouTube, which blows my mind and makes me be like, what have I been doing? Why haven't I been here this whole time? Is like just how nice you guys are. Your comments are so kind. They're so supportive. I feel like you really have such a close connection to your own intuition and your own creativity, and that's so beautiful to watch. And listen, I know there's ups and downs. I know it gets hard, but just keep going, because the more art you create, honestly, the more you get to know yourself and the more kind of trust you're putting in yourself. And that's sort of the goal. That is the goal, is to feel more in line with yourself and to have a more trusting and giving relationship with you. Okay, I love you guys. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye.